Guess what I did while we took a break and while you were setting up here?
What'd you do?
I went over to those woods.
Yeah.
Guess what I found?
More trees?
More maple trees.
Really?
Big maple trees. Something else I looked at. We have an abundance of walnuts. Did you know, though, as we explore further and further the things that are out there in nature, the medicinal aspect. Right now they're looking at a compound and they're called juglone, Juglone. It's actually showing promise in treating cancer. It shrinks the size of tumors. You know what else this is good for?
What?
Say you've been playing a lot of basketball and you've got athlete's feet.
Really?
Athlete's foot.
Put them between your toes.
Actually, it's an antifungal deal. So if you got any kind of fungal things going on.
So you put this, you crush
well, out of the green hull, it's a very acidic.
Okay.
I mean, you can smell it. You know it's acidic.
Okay.
But also for intestinal parasites.
Really?
You got some ringworm, you got some pinworms, you got some hookworms.
I got them all.
I'll hook you up. Actually, the old timers used to treat for worms with that. So the amazing things we have around us.
I didn't know any of that.
Just in a little patch of woods, broadleaf plantain, dandelions, all this stuff that we can use is. I got a spice bush right over there, by the way. Don't let me forget. We can make some tea out of that.
Okay.
All right, back to the cooking. You made something the other day. You had a buddy. What's her name?
Erica.
Erica. It's the time of year. Pumpkins are everywhere.
This is her recipe, and I had some, and I'm like, wow.
So you think there's a pumpkin sitting there. All right, you make pumpkin pie.
Right.
All you got to do is cut this up into small squares and boil it and then mush it up. You can buy canned pumpkin. You can pumpkin.
Okay.
Now it's a very unique process, and you have to follow it step by step, because certain things in canning you have to really watch out with your green beans and things like that. You have to go a certain amount of time. We did a canning thing with pumpkin, but you have to cut it up in cubes. You remember that?
I do, and we used it all up already.
But if you want this to really taste fresh, buy you a pumpkin, cut it up in cubes, boil it, then mush it up, and look what you got.
There you go.
Now, what are you going to make?
This was something she just gave me. It's like a dip, and she has kids. She says she has this in the fridge at all times, and it's amazing. We're going to make chips later, but I want to make the dip first. I'll show you how easy it is and get it in the fridge.
It's wonderful, by the way.
It is, and it's so simple. This is an 8-ounce container of whipped cream that I let kind of get, you can leave it in the fridge. Got me a whisk. You can do it with the mixer, but we're outside, so I want to do a whisk. This is a cup of pumpkin, so we're just going to add that in there. Pumpkin pie, the slice. We're going to put about a quarter of a teaspoon. I'm just going to guess there. I might have gone a little more. I think it matters. And we're just going to whisk this up. This is good already, but the next thing is the secret.
Kind of gels it up.
Yes. So you could get a mixer out and do this, but we're outside. We're camping. So we're doing it this way.
Not to kind of give away the big ending, but are those tortilla chips that you put the sweet stuff on?
Yes, we're going to make our own chips. She had her own chips with cinnamon and sugar on them. I'm like, where did you buy this? She made them. It's so simple. So we're going to make chips too after we get our...
This is perfect for a Halloween party,
yes.
for a fall period, all these pumpkins sitting around.
I'm going to get my spoon back. Now, vanilla pudding. A small box of that.
Where can you go wrong?
I know it. And I'm making a small batch. She made double this. And we're going to just kind of fold this in.
This is really good. It's
a little
not
at a
fattening
time.
or anything.
Nah. And it sits maybe an hour. In fact, we both ate it right away. But we'll let it chill for like an hour.
It just lets it set up a little bit more, but that's really, really good.
So you're just adding the pudding with nothing, just letting it go in here. Think about that.
And you could decorate this. You could put a little, put a little pumpkin face on it. We're just going to show it to you plain a little while. We just sprinkled a little cinnamon on top of it. Man, that was really good.
It's just good. I could eat it with the spoon. If you need something sweet, you go to the fridge and eat something with a spoon. Put it in a pretty bowl.
All right. Here's a little cinnamon sugar.
That's right. And this is what I'm going to use later to make
on your chips.
Yes, for our chips. So
what'd you put on there to make them stick?
We're going to use some olive oil spray.
Oh.
And I'm going to stick that in the fridge until we're ready for it.
Underrated piece of meat. Now the thing is, you can buy it in the store fairly cheap right now. But the more attention things get, it seems like the price goes up.
That's right.
Sirloin flap. A wonderful cut of meat. A lot of people use them for fajitas and things like that. But we tried it as a steak the other night.
It was good.
It was absolutely delicious. We cut, against the grain. Tasty, delicious, and they're very reasonable. So sirloin flap steak, don't forget that. And this is one of ours that we raised. Now this recipe that you're making tonight, it was one of those pleasant mistakes.
Right.
I wouldn't say mistake. We didn't have an ingredient.
And we had meat I needed to cook. And
let's call it a pleasant substitution.
Right. And what happened was, usually I use butter. I like to always put my onions in butter. We didn't have any butter. We'd use it all the night before. I don't remember on what. But I remember my grandma not having butter once and saying, get mayonnaise. And I'm like, really? She says, well, you can use mayonnaise as a substitute.
Which grandma?
Grandma Solomon.
Gotcha.
No one will know. And I remember another friend of mine, Connie Geiger, saying the same thing. She put mayonnaise in her cheese potatoes. It gives it a buttery flavor. So I didn't really say anything to you. I thought, well, shoot, I don't have butter. So I got mayonnaise.
So the sweetness of the mayonnaise and the cream of mushroom soup, you
Always
can't go
good,
wrong
right.
there. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna get a 10-inch pan going. So this can be a one-pan deal.
I like that.
We like that.
Right.
There's not a lot of cleanup. Talking about where your food comes from. This is from Max CSA.
Thank you, Mac. I always eat
This
best
is
onions.
from our lower field. Isn't it nice to know where your food comes
Yes.
from?
All right, now as odd as this seems, we're gonna put this mayonnaise in the pot. I'd say that's about 1/2 cup to 3/4 and melt the mayonnaise down with the onions, and let's start cooking that together.
All right.
And then I'm gonna cut the meat into kind of little bite-sized pieces because we're kind of making like a stroganoff. Salt and pepper, and then use some flour, and I'm gonna dip it in flour, and we're gonna brown the meat. And then once we have that meat all browned and wonderful, we're gonna pour some mushrooms on top. If you like mushrooms, you don't have to use mushrooms, we like them. Use 1/2 cup of red wine.
This is Kentucky wine, Wild
Right.
Side Winery,
Yes,
right down the road.
I got 1/2 cup of beef broth. Now we're gonna throw some mushroom soup on top of all that.
So we're just layering this, and your salt and pepper was with the meat before we got started, so we already got sufficient
Right.
salt and pepper. And there's a lot of sodium in the mushroom soup.
Now here's the secret ingredients.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking
Always. You gotta always have a little currant jelly. I'm gonna put a couple scoops of that. What do you think?
about. Oh yeah.
And I took every spice we had on the back porch and chopped it up and threw it on top.
That's the key ingredient to this. If you don't have these, go to the store in your section. When I tasted this, you just made a surprise dish for
Yeah.
me, and you came back and said, man, you used fresh basil and oregano
Right.
and rosemary. All right, because we have new folks tuning in every week from our multiple sources of viewing, we want to keep it simple. In this case, we'll use briquettes, but Mrs. Farmer, if I had to ask you if this is a 10-inch dish, which it is, and you want it 350 degrees, how many would you put on the top and bottom?
7 and 14.
Exactly.
Yay!
7 on the bottom, 14 on the top. Now this goes for a while. How in the world are we going to keep this thing going for 2 or 3 hours? So we come back every 40 minutes or so and we check our charcoal. And if we see that it needs replaced, I keep a little pile going and we'll replace that. All right, so I want to see how you do little chips.
Super simple. This is a 1/2 cup of sugar, tablespoon of cinnamon.
All right.
Do that. And we want the small, and you want flour. You could do corn, but the flour seems to taste better to me. And we got spray. And I like olive oil. I'm just gonna spray both sides. And that's all we do. Let's make a couple of those. And usually you do about 4 of these, but we're just gonna get a couple going and see.
Wait a minute, I just saw something.
Yeah.
Pam is making organic extra virgin olive oil. I thought you were using the old chemical stuff.
No.
How about that?
Don't you love it?
Well, how about that?
I'm just gonna keep cutting these.
Okay.
See why the small ones are nice? I'm just gonna spread these out on this cookie sheet and cook these for 15 minutes at 350. And we're gonna have our own little
They crisp right up.
cinnamon sugar chips.
How about that?
We'll go pop them in the oven.
All right. Now look at that. It's all
Yum.
cooked down. You can tell it's tender as it can be.
Almost looks like a stroganoff, doesn't it?
Yes,
The way
it
the
does.
meat is.
And that's kind of what I got out of all that the other day. Except the flavors were exceptional. Let's see right here. And you look at that.
I like it.
Tell me we haven't got something special. So let's have a little asparagus here. Got to have our greens, Mrs. Farmer.
I love greens.
Tell me
That's
that isn't
perfect.
a tasty looking dish. So the subtleties here, one of the things that I really enjoyed was the taste of the mayonnaise.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think it would be that noticeable, but it is. But the basil, the fresh basil, the fresh oregano, a little bit of rosemary.
Everything on the porch.
Look
went
what
in.
you've got. Now you can see it's really, really, really cooked down and you can see it's falling apart.
Oh yeah.
Now you add the extra dimension of being outside.
And it's sweet from the currant. Isn't that good? Wow. That's tasty.
I could eat 26 pounds of that. Look at that. Just look at that.
I know.
Oh, I wish you could taste it. So hopefully, very soon, mowing season is over.
Okay.
And we can not enjoy the sounds of mowing in the background.
That's right.
But until that day happens, let's have some pumpkin dip.
You ready for some? Let me go pull those out of the oven.
I'm ready. Wow, look at that.
I let them cool a little. Tell me what you think. I let those cool a little bit on the tray.
Oh, wow.
Don't you love the chips?
That is really.
Because I said to her, where do you buy these? She said, you don't, you make them. How simple.
Wow. You can even do this at Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what if you did that with a butternut squash? Guess what we could put in that?
Don't tell me. I know. Butterscotch chips.
Are you kidding me?
You put that would actually be really good.
Wow.
Have nice chunks. Yum.
And there you have it. We're gonna have maple syrup, hopefully. That's gonna be a long drawn out process, and we'll show that as we go along. But more and more, we're gonna try to show things we do on the farm. We're gonna try to use the things that we can find in nature around us. And if you haven't noticed, we have all kinds of cool things around us, like a smokehouse. Guess where you can go to find out all kinds of things about how to do things and how to cook things and recipes. Where would you go?
I go to timfarmerscountrykitchen.com.
Would you really?
Yeah, I do. And that's where I get my recipes and everything.
That we've already done. And
That's right.
We never
That we
measure
forget.
things, so we forget how to measure. Also, we want you to be our Facebook friend. And we're pushing 50,000.
Wow.
That's a whole lot of people that we can talk to, share ideas
Yeah.
with, share jokes with. We do funny things on Friday and Wednesday, and Kelly posts all kinds of funny stuff. But also on Mondays, you show us your recipes. We talk, we share ideas, and if you find any old characters out there, let us know. We want to go visit these. We want to find these people who are out there who we can learn from.
Right.
These old traditions before they're gone.
Exactly.
We love the old ways. And that's kind of what our show's about.
That's right.
And until next week, it's pretty much all about
Good times
good friends.
and really good eats.
And we'll see you next week with a brand new Tim Farmer's Country Kitchen.
Yeah, these are good.